already know what time it is. We got some fire today. Donald Trump is putting the foot down, the hammer down on Sharia law, Islamic imperialism in the United States. Do you agree or do you disagree? You know, you sometimes your enemy ain't got to be your friend, but he could show do you a favor. I can tell you that. And so, do we want to see Sharia law in the United States? Me personally, hell no. It ain't done nothing for them over there in their own goddamn country. What the hell we want it for? What Sharia law done for them over there? Nothing. Everywhere, every goddamn Islamic country over there, they got some bullshit going on. The people want to overthrow their ass. I don't care. I don't give a goddamn which one it is. Ain't nothing but catastrophe. Ain't nothing but catastrophe. Just like I said, I personally, I personally, you know, Muslims in my family, they done passed on. You know, my uncle Rashid, he was a Muslim, and he was a good brother. Now I ain't gonna say you ain't gonna find no good ones. You gonna, more likely is the black, but some of them niggas could be very zealot, especially overseas. They could become zealots too. These niggas commit, they join these radicals. But my uncle was a black Muslim, meaning he believed in that the pale Arab was a perpetrator. They was the perpetrator, that the black man is God. Even though, he was so in love with Islam, he was all love. He went to Mecca, went to Morocco. This was back in the 70s. He didn't been, my Uncle Rashid didn't been off the earth now probably over 20 something years. And but, you know, uh, just but at the same time, studying Islam. I was studying Islam and been studying Islam now for probably over 35 years. Because I had access. He was the first one I seen with a conscious library where you could get some of the scrolls, not all the scrolls that the African Senate community got, but a lot of them was already available to them young, the brothers of the, back in the 60s and 70s. Some of them books was already circulating. And so when I would go over his house, when I started really reading, right around, and I was always reading, but start getting off into the Islamic, the culture, the metaphysical, all of that. I go over there and get books off of his shelf, and I wouldn't tell him, how that go. That's like, let me get a couple scrolls, you know what I'm saying? And I was getting the scrolls. I remember he had this one book called Jesus in India, Tomb of Jesus in India. I had never heard no shit like that in India. And so I said, let me get this book. And I read that book about how they believe Jesus, went to India, that he didn't die on the cross. He went to India, and they got a tomb over there for him too. His name is Yusuf something, and they got a tomb over there. Thank you, family. And so I was but as I started to get deeper off into Islam, not as a practicing Muslim, but as a historian, and I seen their agenda, how radical they is to make the planet Muslim. You understand what I'm saying? This is the way. All infidels could die by the sword. And looking at, how they leadership from the very beginning. Islam was at war from the very beginning. They're going to tell you that Islam means peace, or submission, and that ain't got nothing. Yeah, if it means submission, it means submission by the sword. Because when the story of Islam opened up, Muhammad is being chased out of Arabia. I believe by his own tribe, the Quraysh tribe. They chased his ass out of Arabia. And they had to flee into Ethiopia. That's where they found refuge. And I believe when they fled to Ethiopia, that's the first year of the Hijra. That's when they start their calendar, when they had to flee. You see what I'm saying? And so when Muhammad came back in, when they came back in, I believe they had to go to Medina. At that time, it was called Yathrib or something, and it was renamed Medina. And so they went there. That became the first Muslim city, Medina. And that's where, really, Islam was born. That's where it took off. And the oldest mosque, the mosque of Muhammad is supposedly there. It is Medina, and so on. And so they had to fight with Mecca. Finally, they fought and they conquered Mecca, and then they took over. And from that point on, it's been warfare. Everything, ain't nothing they ever achieved was by the word of our, just spiritual word, and people saying, I agree with you. Oh my God, I have never heard nobody speak spirituality. Let me join you. Every fucking convert, motherfucking head was under a sword. You understand what I'm saying? That's just facts. That's just fact. When you look, and I tell the people, if a motherfucker don't believe me, they got documentaries on, and this is by Muslims. Okay, I tell the people it's called a documentary. It was by Al Jazeera. It's called The Caliph. Go look. It's a 3-part series, and it show you how Islam started, and it'll take you all the way up to the last caliph. The last caliph was when they dismantled the Ottoman Empire after World War One. They lost. Turkey, Germany, they was all on the same team, and they lost. And when the Ottoman Empire was at that time, it was considered, it was an old man ready to collapse anyway. It had seen its heyday, but the ruler of the Ottoman Empire was the Caliph. And the Caliph is like the Pope. He was considered the head of Islam, and what he say, majority of Muslims in the world would follow what he say. But he was the last caliph, and that was, but it take you from the beginning to the end, to the end. And man, they killed damn near every caliph that ever ruled in Islam. I'm talking about Muslims. I'm not talking about nobody else. Muslims killed every fucking caliph that ever ruled in Islam. From the first ones, they call them the righteous, or what they call them, Razul or something like that. And that's the first 4 caliphs. You got Abu Bakr. You got after Abu Bakr, it was Umar. After Umar, it was Uthman. After Uthman, it was Ali, who was the cousin of Muhammad. They killed every last one of them. They assassinated every last one of them. And then when you watch, even damn near every, so that show you right there. If people want to know where you going with, with that, that's the energy. That's the energy that's what jihad. And jihad, and when you watch, it's such a mirror image. And that's another story when you start talking about Catholicism. Because, a lot of, them Catholics help them Muslims. That's why that shit is so similar. The jihad ain't nothing but the crusade. That's all it is. Crusade, jihad, crusade, caliph, pope. You know what I'm saying? It's a mirror image of one another. And so we can get off into that on another level. But the Catholics is the same way. They control. They got a very you know subversive. They subversive. They could come with the sword, but them Catholics is more subversive than the Muslim. They gonna come with the Jesuits. The Jesuits they like a fucking CIA, Mossad. They gonna come in and they gonna become chameleons. They gonna become what you are, and that's they breed them like that. They spend their whole life being a mole. That's how they operate, being a mole. They'll become a Christian. They'll become a Muslim. They'll grow their beard out for 20 years, and they'll be out there, Allah Akbar. That's why they be knocking them off over there. How you think they know where a lot of them damn people be at? And they can knock off 40 and 50 damn individuals at one time. Because that's how the Jesuits is. They'll go over there as a Muslim. They'll become a Muslim and be a Muslim for 20 years, 30 years, and be praying you won't think nothing of it. And they'll still be under the control of the Jesuit order. That's how they rock. You know what I'm saying? So when you understand how deep this shit get, you know what I'm saying? This ain't no Boy Scout shit. This is real, this is real earth-shaking power, imperialistic control, where they got people out here that's truly zealots that'll do anything for their belief system. So when you get to talking about Sharia law, and you get to talking about that's Islamic imperialism. Because anywhere where they set up in Sharia law, nigga, if you're not a Muslim, they gon' and even if you is, but most definitely, if you're not a Muslim, my God, nigga, you is gonna be under the boot. Nigga, you gonna be under the boot. That's why most of them niggas, once they feel how it is being under Sharia, and some of them motherfuckers, Sharia law is strict. Strict. They don't play no motherfucking games with ya. Nigga, please. Lights out, nigga. When the sun lights out, nigga. Have your ass in the mosque. When you hear them call, the crier, the mezzanine, you get your ass over there in the mosque. Get your head on the floor, nigga. Get to doing your thing. You know what I'm saying? We catch you, and you ain't over there, and you ain't praying, and nigga, your ass is in trouble. And even if you is, and you're black and you're Muslim, that's still, so understand what that means. I personally, I don't want to see Sharia law. That's because that's what they brought when they enslaved our people. Sharia law. And black people, nigga, in all them religions, them so-called Abrahamic religion, Islam, man, black people is the scourge of the earth. Nigga, even if you become one, you is still the scourge of the earth. You feel what I'm saying? Just know that. So you're already dealing with, and you're dealing with white supremacy. Now you're going to let these motherfuckers come set up. So you're going to be dealing with white supremacy. You're going to be dealing with Sharia law. You're going to be dealing with, the Jewish law. You're going to be dealing with all these. Where your black law, nigga? Sick of you niggas. Y'all niggas out there integrating with these motherfuckers trying to do the demo. Where your black law, nigga? Everybody over here trying to establish their own law. You ain't got no law. You ain't got no law. You're lawless. You ain't got no global nationalistic law that guides you to liberation and success and greatness. Where is your motherfucking law, nigga? Sick of this shit. All you want to do is bow down to another man's law. That's what you want to do. Anyway, I'm out of here, y'all. And Donald Trump say he gonna ban it. Now I ain't, like I tell you, I ain't for no Trump. But I tell you what, certain shit that he say, I agree with. Yeah, I do. I don't agree with him. But the policy is something I already agreed with before he said it. And when he said it, I said, you know what? That's the right motherfucking thing, because we already got to deal with your ass first. And that's all, we don't need, because they ain't even successfully dealing with you. They can't deal with two oppressive systems on their ass like that. Real talk. I'll see y'all in a minute. See that link right down there in the video description? It says Patreon. Get over there and get that work. I'm going live. I'm going to amaze you with the visuals, and y'all already know what that means. I'll see y'all in a minute. Get a video a thumbs up. Like it because you love it. Share it with your family and friends. I'll be black. Boom.